Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we have one last funeral for the Wii. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news in the week, including Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter coming to Switch, or not. And then on Thursday, we're going to be looking back on the year of Luigi and the decade that surrounded it. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
Doing great. You know, Patrick, I feel like every time we think we're never going to talk about the Wii again, because how could we at this point?
Right. The Wii won't. First of all, the eShop doesn't work.
Right.
And who does standard definition gaming anymore?
And yet, we will be getting to another news item about the Wii.
Speaking of things I cannot believe we are still talking about in 2020, my copy of Sonic Forces. Would you like to borrow it? You can. All you got to do is write to us, email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us a mailing address, and we'll send it to you.
Yeah, we will. That's an NCS promise.
That's right. And look, I don't know if you know this about us, but we have kept every single promise we've made.
When we signed that DARE pledge in 6th grade.
That's right.
To now.
Mark and I have never done drugs or had alcohol, and we've certainly never done both together. Never. Something else I want to plug real quick. I've got an issue of Transformers coming out in a couple
super
weeks.
Exciting.
I wrote an issue of the comic book series Transformers. It is the Transformers Valentine's Day special. It is coming out on February 12th. It's about two robots falling in love with each other. It's Glyph and Tap Out. If you're fans of Transformers or if you like any of my stupid garbage, please check it out.
Yeah, you can go to your local comic book store and pick it up, pre-order it even.
Yeah, demand it.
And if you don't want to do that, you can buy it online.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you can also just wander into a comic book store at some point on the 12th or after the 12th.
I bet you would be willing to sign it for people.
Oh, sure.
I don't know how we'll make that work.
Sure. If someone wants to email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and you get to show me that you bought the thing. And then you have to send it to me somehow?
Yeah, or maybe you sign a headshot and send it to them and they can put it in with the comic book.
Or I can sign... can I make like stickers that have my signature?
Yes.
That seems dangerous. I don't want to be franchising.
We'll work this out. We'll work this out somehow. Maybe we'll give away a signed copy as a gift to somebody who rates us in the Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if nothing else, the issue of Transformers will be its own reward.
That is the important part.
Jack Lawrence did the art on this thing. He's a well-known Transformers artist who is amazing and draws the cutest Transformers you'll ever see. So please do.
The cover is so cute.
Out. The cover's adorable.
Yeah.
Look, I fell in love with these two specific Transformers writing this issue, and then I forgot about them, and then I got the art back, and I was like, oh, I love them again.
But you're so right, Patrick. I was trying to make this a thing. We don't need to make it a thing. It already is a thing.
I mean, I like things. You know I like pomp and circumstance.
We'll see how it works out.
We'll see how it works out.
But everyone should definitely buy the issue.
Yes, 100%. Mark, we've got a little bit of a task before us before we get to what we've been playing.
It.
So we got a tweet from listener Adam at And Extinction. That is his Twitter handle, at And Extinction. And his question goes like this. I am nearing completion of my 3DS backlog. I only have 5 games to go. Can you please rate them from worst to best? Are you ready, Mark?
I am ready.
So they are Super Mario RPG, Bravely Default, Fire Emblem Fates, Pokemon X, and Mario Sports Superstars.
So here's the thing.
Yes.
I've only played one of those games, and it's Super Mario RPG.
Yes. So I have not played Bravely Default, but I know it by reputation. Ditto Pokemon. And I've played a little bit of Mario Sports Superstars, but it's I can confidently put that one on worst.
And Fire Emblem Fates?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Yes,
you played that one.
Yes, I
Oh,
played
okay.
that one.
All right. I mean, I'm willing to pass judgment on things even though I have no information.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so what do you think is the worst on this list?
I trust your gut that Mario Sports
Superstars.
Superstars.
Yeah, I mean the real problem with Mario Sports Superstars is that it is a the phrase jack of all trades, master of none.
Mm-hmm.
That is this, except it is not even a jack of all these trades. It's more like a 7.
Is this the one that was
of all
made
trades.
by Square Enix, or was that on the DS?
No, you are thinking of Mario 3-on-3 Hoops.
I am.
Made by Square Enix.
I'm thinking of.
It is Mario characters, but it is also Final Fantasy characters. There's a white mage in there, a black mage. It's awesome. I mean, it's also bad.
But it's an awesome idea.
Yes.
That is what I'm thinking of. So yeah, I'm fine having that one at the bottom.
Okay. Next from the bottom, look, this might be controversial. I'm going to say Pokemon.
Yeah, I am fine with that as well.
Especially because there are newer Pokemon games you can play on your 3DS.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's seals
also
it for me.
We don't like Pokemon that much. Oh no, I've lost the list. Hold on. Okay, remaining are Super Mario RPG, Bravely Default, and Fire Emblem Fates.
Okay, so I'm gonna say Super Mario RPG is at the top
for me as well. It is also between those two going to be, or between the remaining 3, the most like digestible, like shortest of the RPGs.
Yes,
while not being like dismissively short.
Right. And then 2 games I haven't played.
Yeah, and I haven't played Bravely Default. I like Fire Emblem Fates, but I think it's the worst one on the 3DS. I think the other 2 are both better. And it's also it's like sort of extra mechanic. We talked the other week about how Three Houses has like the sort of monastery, like you're teaching your students, like that's sort of the extra mechanic tacked on. Fates has a thing where you're like, it's like you're building like a fortress that like other players can visit and like try to attack, and you can attack other people. No one's playing Fire Emblem Fates anymore, so like you're not, that sort of connectivity is going to be lost on it.
Also, I'm just curious, Adam, which like version do you have? Right? Because weren't there like 3 different ones? The third one was like a combination of the other 2.
Yeah. This is all correct. And also, like, how do you feel about Fire Emblem games? If you're like a Fire Emblem like purist and hardcore, the third of the 3, and I don't remember what they're all called now, but one of those versions is really, really tough, and requires you to do some like serious thinking and strategizing. So if you're looking for that, maybe put that at the second best. But otherwise, I'd say probably Bravely Default. So, and then you can be ready for Bravely Default too.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, great. Mark, are you ready to get into what we've been playing this week?
Yeah. Do you think it's necessary for me to respond when you say, "Are you ready?" I feel like I don't have a good way.
Oh,
I usually say, "Yeah, let's do it."
Here's the thing, and I was hoping for just those 2 extra syllables, just because like all I have to do is find the button on my keyboard and push it. But when I start asking the question, I'm not ready to push the button yet.
So maybe I should just commit to always saying, "Yeah, let's do it."
Or you could be like, "Hey, Patrick, now I think is a good time for us to transition into the next segment," and then I'll be like, "Great."
All right, that's fine. Maybe we can get that written down and notarized too while we're at it. Perfect. And
then I'll make a sticker of my signature and mail it to you.
You and I played some games together this weekend.
We did. We played some Overcooked with Sarah as well, which maybe was a bad. I had a very fun time. Maybe it was a bad move for us to start playing that game after a couple drinks and already at like 9:30.
Yeah,
it
was
or
late.
Something.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were already starting to fall apart, and then we put on Overcooked. But it was fun. We got through a bunch of levels, and we're at first very strictly sticking to like, let's get 3 stars on all of these. And then somewhere around like the 3rd or 4th world, we were like, no,
maybe not.
It's
also interesting that like you have to fail an Overcooked level like once.
Yeah.
So that way you know what kind of mess you're in.
Yes.
And then you can kind of strategize. But really the strategy most of the time just comes down to saying what you're doing.
Yeah. A lot of times strategy comes down to just communicating that you're overwhelmed. We were in one section where Sarah and Mark were like trapped on one side of the map and we're just like chopping stuff, and I was trapped on the other side of the map, like actually assembling the burgers or whatever it was. And they're they were both so like diligent about chopping vegetables that like I just had them all over
We
the
were
floor
filling your truck up.
everywhere. I couldn't even see.
We lost.
It was not
too
a
much
good
stuff.
run.
I've also been looking for kind of a digestible. Oh wait. We should talk about Shovel Knight Showdown.
Yes, we
before
also
we get
we also
sidetracked.
played Shovel Knight Showdown, which I talked about a little bit when the King Knight DLC came out, and sort of glossed over it. But then you and I got a chance to play it together, and I got to say, playing it 2-player was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a surprising amount of fun.
Shovel Knight Showdown starts out feeling like kind of a bare bones thing where there are like 8 playable characters and maybe just as many levels to fight in, and then it's less like a fighting game and more I don't know, how would you describe?
Yeah, so you're on a level like a fighting game level, but in the modes we were playing most of the time anyways, like the goal is to collect a number of gems that show up on the map like randomly, or they spawn at certain times. And then if you die or if somebody like knocks it out of you, they lose gems. So yeah, it really has like, it's a mix between fighting and platforming.
Yeah.
So that made it way more appealing to me than if it was just like a straight up fighting game.
Yeah, and like for the most part you don't just go after someone to fight them. Like you can beat someone by clearing their like life stock, right?
Mm-hmm.
But fighting for the most part really just serves to like knock someone into a pit or like just get them away from you.
Yeah,
while
they're just
you're
like
going for gems.
skirmishes.
Yeah, they're just like weird little encounters. And the game has pretty quickly revealed more characters, more levels, more game modes, lots of alternate costumes for characters. And so it seems like there is a lot there if you start to put some time into it, and it just like keeps rewarding you with more stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
So I put away, I finished
Childish Things.
I put away Childish Things. I finished Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Right.
I had started Dragon Quest 11S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch.
Thank you.
But after starting it, I was like, this is too much. Like, I can't dive right back into a another like big adventure like this.
Right.
And so this weekend, when I had a little bit of time, I was just like, I'm just gonna play Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah. Just play Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
What how did you play it? Did you just play it the way you were used to playing it as a kid, or did you do like I'm gonna play all the levels? Like how did you approach it?
I've been clearing like world by world, like doing everything in a world. But ever since they added the rewind feature, it's really hard not to use it.
Yeah.
But sometimes using it like takes away some of the fun because it just like
absolutely.
removes like all sense of danger. And in a game like Mario Brothers 3, where it's like if you die, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll like out of instinct like hit the hold L and R so that way it'll like trigger it and then be like, oh no, I should just like eat this one.
Yeah. The rewind function on the NES Switch Online is such that I don't feel like the need to, or not like I don't feel the compulsion to spam it, because it doesn't like rewind in real time. It like rewinds like a couple seconds at a time. In the Disney Afternoon Collection, it is like you just hold one of the triggers and it starts to rewind. Because those are all NES games. I guess so is the NES. Anyway, but like that, it will just like reverse it. So like there's no fine tuning it. You just
Gotcha.
like, oh, I messed up that jump, and there I'm back.
Yeah.
To doing it again.
I also looked up how you get those treasure ships.
Yeah.
And apparently I've forgotten it now. I'm not going to look it up again. But it's only on worlds 1, 3, 5, and 6.
Okay.
And like the formula for getting it, even after reading it, I was like, I have no idea how to trigger this.
Doesn't it have something to do with like the timer and
yeah,
like
it's
your
like
score?
timer and the number of coins, and
Yeah.
then like it being like a multiple of 11, and your score has to be like a multiple of that multiple of 11 or something like that.
I mean, the thing that's dumbest about those coin chips is that your reward is just getting a bunch of coins. Right?
And a 1-up that's like blue for some reason in the NES. And then you have to fight those two boomerang guys at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Who then they could kill you.
Yep.
But you don't get like a warp whistle or anything cool.
Nothing.
Mark, I've been playing Celeste because I was on sale.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you.
Here's just a fun little thing. A bunch of great indie games are on sale right now. Killer Queen Black is $10, and they just added support for 8 players on one Switch. So if you were holding out on picking up Killer Queen Black, now's a good time to do it. I also grabbed that. I haven't played it yet. And Celeste, which was like $6.50. And I picked it up and I spent some time playing it today. Game's good. I don't know what else to say about Celeste, and that's a well-known statement at this point, but Celeste is good, and I will report back as I continue to play. Speaking of games I continue to play, Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch. I went back to it.
Which you weren't sure you were going to.
I was not sure that I was going to because I rolled credits on it a few weeks ago and got to... the game lets you go back in, and there is it's even weird to call it post game because it is so much of the game, and I've put a good 8, 9, 10 hours in the game since I rolled credits, and it feels more like open and a little less guided in the end game here, but no less like intriguing. There are it's almost like the game starts to break its own rules in the third act, where like there are missions that I know I have, like tasks that I know the game wants me to perform that aren't main story mission stuff, and they're not like the side quests that are marked the way the game marks side quests, but like just tasks I know I need to fulfill. It's very strange. Like it feels way more self-guided, and that way a little bit less gamey and a little bit more real. So like that's very interesting. And like I'm getting to places where there are like combat trials, where I need to be like way leveled up, and like really one of the things about Dragon Quest is that like you get to a point where you're like, my guys are fine. I'm just gonna set them all to auto fight, they'll be fine. But like I'm coming up against fights that are too difficult for me, or too difficult under like the constraints that it's giving me in these specific trials. And so that's really fun to try and like think about Dragon Quest combat in a strategic way.
So in the fiction of the world, you went back in time to fix like or change something that happens to a single character but you could do it for your entire party. So theoretically, like after whichever character you chose it for this time, you start a new save file. Could you go back to that original save file and choose it for a different character, and would the experience be different?
So that's not exactly what would happen. Your main character goes back in time.
Right. But you're like, okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't played it, so.
Right. Yes. So you go back in time, and then like everyone else is back where they were. So like your level 60 guy is like running around with your like level 37.
Right, but
partners.
Like I thought like part of you going back was so you could correct something that happened or change something that happened to the characters. But it's like each individual character, and again, haven't played this, so tell me if I'm wrong, each individual character had something like traumatic happen to them. And are you going back in time to change it for everybody or for like one specific character?
So this is a little bit the bummer. You are going back in time to fix like what, like there is one character who went through something that you like are very specifically going back to erase that.
Oh, okay.
But it also means that everyone's experiences in the amount of time that you've like time traveled past has also been erased.
Yeah, I see.
So there are some like character development beats that it was weird to sort of like watch that character have to deal with that same stuff again, and like maybe deal with it in a less good way the second time.
So is it like a weird new game plus?
No, it's not even that, because it's only like it's like halfway through the course of the game that you get sent back to. So it's, I mean, like it is very strange, and I get why they call the place where you roll the credits at the end of the game. Because it feels like for me, that's the end of the like the canon story. And what I'm doing now is just like more fun thing that I'm, it's an excuse to keep playing.
Yeah,
basically.
That's cool.
All right, so that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week. see, and the trick with that one is a lot of that is on autopilot, so I can start saying that while looking for the button to push on my computer.
All right, today, Kentucky Route Zero TV edition is released on the Switch eShop.
Is this one's a long time coming, right?
Right, so it's a point-and-click adventure that was crowdfunded, I think, in like 2012. And I was looking up it met its goal, but its goal was less than $10,000.
Oh.
And it's been released in chapters, I think 5 chapters. And the 5th chapter is coming out today. And with that is the TV edition, which is like the home console version.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's been this game like 7 years in the making. It's a like point and click adventure game. I have never played any of it, but it has a really good reputation, especially now that it's ended. I'm so curious if it's like a side project that people have been working on over the past 7 years in addition to doing other stuff, or if they have just been able to like turn this into a ongoing thing.
Yeah, because that's
very cool either way.
It's a long time for like an episodically released
game.
with
like not like a huge, like multi-million-dollar crowdfunding budget or anything.
This isn't Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then also Byleth is in Smash today.
Yep.
Probably
like it or not
later this afternoon, because I saw that like Nintendo UK was like, it's coming on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably later tonight.
Well, and also, like, any time that a Nintendo anything is coming out in the eShop, like, don't expect it to happen.
Right, like 9 a.m.
At midnight, yeah.
Yeah, also, our number 1 ranked Mii Fighter costume.
Yeah, is going to be in this collection. And that's just, that's a little, like, teaser. So go back and listen to the episode, see what we ranked as number 1.
Last Thursday. And then on this Thursday, January 30th, the Arcade Archives Tecmo Bowl is released just in time for the Super Bowl this weekend.
Hey, that's perfect. Mark, I can't help but notice that you skipped over on Tuesday a game on the eShop called "It Came from Space and Ate Our Brains."
I did, only because I don't know anything about it. Great title.
That's all I wanted to point out is that "It Came from Space and Ate Our Brains" is a perfect title for a video game. Perfect title.
And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. Are you going to pick up Tecmo Bowl?
No, I don't really have any fondness for the NES version. This is, of course, the arcade version where you could play with up to 4 people instead of just like the 2 on NES. And also there was like, I'm sure the graphics were better and all that kind of stuff.
Do you have a like go-to football game in your mind?
Yeah, Madden 97.
Madden
for the
97?
SNES. Yep.
Mutant League Football for the Genesis.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
All right, Mark, let's close this out. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, you have set upon us a quiz. Is this correct?
Yes. Yeah, we have 2 to choose from.
Okay.
We have from the Washington Post. Can you tell a fake Lifetime movie from a real one?
Okay.
Or our other option from How Stuff Works is, are these Hallmark Christmas movies real or made up? So I will let you choose which one of the 2 we do.
Well, I'm just going to say that it is no longer Christmas, so let's do the other one.
Okay, so here we go.
Although even though it is no longer Christmas, if you want to go back and listen to our Christmas Carol episode, we did a really nice job, and I think it's really good. You should go back and listen to it.
Yeah, it should definitely become a perennial.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
While you're putting up the Christmas tree. Can you tell a fake Lifetime movie from a real one? Here we go. Dear Santa, why, ? A small Santa is wrongly accused of theft at the food court. He falls in love with a sexy elf, a former lawyer disbarred for a crime she didn't commit, who helps clear his name. Real or fake?
Okay, well, first of all, I resent the fact that this is a Christmas movie. I'm going to say fake.
Okay.
This one doesn't seem real to me.
I also think it's fake. So here we go. We were correct. It is fake.
Yes. What tipped it off for you?
The level of the specificity for whatever reason.
Like there's a little bit. It's a little bit too cute that the sexy elf used to be a lawyer but was disbarred for a
crime she didn't commit. Yeah,
right. Like it's all a little like too tight.
There's a lot going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Bounce back. A woman. I'm saying based on the title, I'm leaning towards real.
Me too.
A woman bounces a check, but a kindly teller gives her a break. Turns out he's her secret biological father with a secret.
Oh, 100%. This is real.
Okay,
this
all
has got to be
right.
real.
We're voting real. No,
What?
it's fake. Okay.
I guess it's not. That's not sexy enough.
Right. Like the fact that it's her father,
Her secret biological father. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
not.
like-
It's not enough.
yeah. I mean, we say that hindsight in 2020.
Well, of course.
Deadly sibling rivalry. A pair of twin sisters are always fighting, and things didn't get any better when one slips into a coma after a car accident, and the other steals her identity.
That feels real.
Okay.
Stolen identities, slipping into comas. That sounds real.
Do we think it's based on a true story? I'm fine with going with real. It is. It is, in fact,
Perfect.
real. Digital nightmare. A woman tries to figure out who killed her boyfriend, who she met on an online dating site. She visits the site under a pseudonym to look for suspects. I'm going to say real.
What is the name of it?
Digital nightmare.
Digital nightmare. I'm gonna say fake.
Okay.
But you can choose whichever you like.
I'll click fake. I get to see whether it's right or wrong either
Sure.
way. It is indeed fake. What tipped you off?
Digital nightmare. Well, a bad title is the wrong kind of bad. It should be something more. I don't have a good pitch, but like it's not colorful enough with the language.
Right. Well, speaking of which, how about this one? The Party Never Stops. Diary of a Binge Drinker. A college freshman learns a deadly lesson about the dangers of too much partying, and it's her best friend who pays the price.
Yeah, that's real.
Okay. It is, in fact, real. A Little Thing Called Murder.
Ooh.
A con artist uses her young son as an accomplice as she scams rich people for all they're worth. I'm feeling a disconnect between the title and the description.
Say the title again.
A Little Thing Called Murder. Unless her son's name is Murder.
Look, don't do that to your kids. Don't name your child Murder.
I'm going to say fake.
I'm also gonna say fake.
It is real.
What?
Yeah. Murder Cabin. A reality dating show takes a...
I guess.
Well, that one is fake, just so you know.
Murder Cabin?
Mm-hmm.
A Little Thing Called Murder Cabin. Not real. We were accompanied today by the GVSU New Music Ensemble. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Reggie Fils-Aimé, the beloved former president of Nintendo of America, was on an episode of the Present Value podcast back at the end of December. This is a student-produced podcast from Cornell University where Reggie is currently the leader in residence at the Dyson School of Applied Economics and Management.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, this past week, even though the episode was released, that's the word I was looking for,
Mark,
at the end
you
of
released
December.
2 podcasts every week.
No, I premiere them. So
you unveil them.
Even though we christen them with a champagne bottle every time. Even though it was at the end of December, released at the end of December, for whatever reason, it was picked up on this past week. So some quotes from his interview started making the rounds, including he talked about the origins of "My Body Is Ready," the famous meme.
Now, look, present value podcast hosts, I get that, like, Reggie's there, so, like, you gotta, like, the questions are gonna get a little nerdy.
Yeah.
But, like, that's not why he's there, right?
No, and there's some good, like, business-minded stuff later.
Yeah.
This one, it's actually, the origin of it is pretty interesting. So he says, quote, "The My Body Is Ready statement. When you're preparing for an E3 presentation, there's lots of rehearsals. We make sure everything is going to go right. And for this introduction of Wii Fit and the Wii Balance Board, it was myself, Shigeru Miyamoto, our most well-known game creator, and his translator, a good friend of mine by the name of Bill Trinan. And we were rehearsing this over the course of 3 days. It got to be a little monotonous. And every time I would go to step on the balance board, I would be making some sort of wisecrack or another. And late in the rehearsals, I said, 'My body is ready.' And it was the first time that I actually got Mr. Miyamoto to laugh. He thought that statement was pretty funny. So it was, hey, I got a winner here. And we continued to practice, and I continued to do different things, so no one on stage knew what I was going to say. And yet here we are. The experience is being videotaped. We're broadcasting it out, and I made that statement. And yes, it's a meme out there.
It's a meme out there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
This is the kind of thing that I do love, where it's just like, I don't know, I said it, and we all recognize that it was weird, and now we all love it.
Yeah.
More of that, please.
And also, yeah, if I feel like Miyamoto would be a great, test audience. Like, if he likes something,
yeah,
I would totally be like,
good.
Oh.
Do you think it's tough to make him laugh?
I do think it's tough to make him laugh.
Especially in like a business setting.
I think he's like a Willy Wonka type where he is whimsical to a degree, but is probably I think he's like a kind person, but generally fairly serious.
Sure. And like when you're around him, you're like, he's really cool. I don't think he likes me.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Also, when talking about building a brand, this is where we get into a little bit more like business minded.
Yep.
Reggie talked about branding strategy early into his tenure at Nintendo. So before becoming president of Nintendo of America, Reggie joined at the end of 2003 as an executive vice president of sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And he says, quote, "From a branding standpoint, we had to be clear in what Nintendo as a brand stood for, as well as what the individual franchises stood for. I'll give you an example. When I joined Nintendo, there was a sense of almost shame that Nintendo appealed to young consumers, and that the marketing team at Nintendo of America started doing things with the logo, that classic Nintendo logo in an oval. They would put it into graffiti style, or they'd do different things to try and age up the logo. And I put a stop to that because that is not our brand. What we needed to do was, yes, appeal to a broad swatch of consumers, but we need to do it based on what the brand stood for and not doing it in some false way."
That's very interesting. And also, like, it's interesting that obviously in that moment they saw like any kind of riffing on the logo as aging it up, when in reality what they're doing is aging it to like a specific. They're dating it, right? And so it's not really maturing it so much as it is tying it to a specific year, and like a graffiti looking logo feels very late 90s, early 2000s, and like would look dated and like juvenile now. So like, smart choice, Reggie.
Yeah. Do you remember there was a time going to be talking about theme parks for a second.
Oh yeah.
So after Epcot Center at Disney World, they dropped the center part, and for a while it became like Epcot Name of Year. I think they did it twice. So the first one was Epcot 94, and that was technically the official name of the park.
Really?
Was Epcot 94, and then they did it again in Epcot 95. And I think that was the last time they ever did it. We're like, the official name of the park was Epcot 95. And you're right, like it immediately, like it doesn't make you feel contemporary. It immediately like dates you.
Yeah. And like even the idea of naming a product the name of the year feels very mid 90s, right?
Totally.
Mid to late 90s. Like, I think of Windows right away. And, I guess in as far as video games are concerned, you see that in like sports franchises. That's a very specific kind of thing. But yeah, that is very funny how like an attempt to modernize something is also frequently just tying it to the current year.
Yeah. For a brief moment last week, it seemed like Street Fighter V might be coming to Switch.
Now, this is crazy.
So EB Games Canada tweeted last week that Street Fighter V Champion Edition was coming to Switch, but that turns out to not be the case. After the tweet, Street Fighter's king, Yoshinori Ono, confirmed that the game is not coming to Switch. The EB Games tweet was also removed.
Where'd you get that language from? The king language?
I was trying, just like Premiere. Yeah. I was trying to think of what his like title. He's probably the producer. He's probably the series producer.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Yeah, I mean Yoshinori Ono is also does a pretty good job of being like the public face of the like Street Fighter part of
especially
of
Street Fighter V. He's the one that's had to take all the crap because he's on Twitter, right? He's like the recognizable face.
Yeah,
of the
but
franchise.
I mean, he was also like front and center for 4.
No, for sure. But I just mean like, yeah.
But and also Street Fighter Tekken too. Like he was. I remember seeing a lot from him during.
When's that Tekken Street Fighter game coming?
Never. It's never going to come out. But that's on the Tekken team. That's
right.
not a Capcom game. But this was a particularly weird because Street Fighter 5 is basically a PlayStation. It is a PlayStation exclusive. It's also on PC, but like it's not on Xbox. So it would be very strange if it came to Switch. I love Ono's tweet about this, where he's like, "Oh wow, cool! I didn't know we were working on." Like,
right? Yeah,
he's being such a little like troll about it. It's great. And it would be. I mean, anytime a fighter or any sort of online heavy game comes to Switch, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Like, what's the point of getting it there if you can get it on another platform if you're gonna play online, and especially for a one-on-one fighter, like you need to have a connection that actually works in order for fighting games to really function online. I was even trying to play Street Fighter V on my PlayStation the other day, which is hardwired in and everything, and like there's lag in that still. So yeah, I couldn't really imagine playing it on Switch.
But just like all classic 90s rivalries, so Street Fighter isn't coming to Switch,
yes.
But maybe Mortal Kombat is?
Maybe.
So a game called Mortal Kombat Kollection Online was rated in Europe for Switch by the European Ratings Board, PEGI, which of course
is the European Ratings Board.
Yeah. I like read that stuff out of order. I was riffing.
Yeah.
And it came
like
back
jazz.
to bite me. Yeah. Okay. So this is what the description of the game states. It says, Mortal Kombat Collection Online is the original Mortal Kombat trilogy that Mortal Kombat fans always wanted. Upgraded art, gameplay, and online features provide an incredible experience that revive the classics.
So one thing to note here is that this is different from the Mortal Kombat trilogy game that was available on Nintendo 64 and a couple other platforms, and also those versions were all different from each other as well. But those games were the old Mortal Kombat trilogies were one game with all the characters in them, and this looks like it is a collection of the arcade versions of Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, and Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah, interested to see what they mean by upgraded art.
I would guess just like up-res for high definition, right?
Widescreen, maybe?
Maybe widescreen, but widescreen would like drastically change.
Oh, sure.
What the makeup of the field would be, right?
Yeah.
Like it would fundamentally change the fights. Yeah. So I would guess that there are, like arcade like art on the left and right.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll find out. Or we won't.
And it doesn't exist. Who knows?
When it was revealed last year, it seemed like Persona 5 Scramble was basically just like another Hybrid Warrior type game.
Oh, I know. We wrote it off like that.
Where like Koei Tecmo, they have like a popular IP, and they're like, we can make a Musou game out of this.
They can make a Musou game out of anything.
Yeah, they're really good at it. But the company seems to be positioning Persona 5 Scramble more as like an action RPG sequel rather than just like a mashup like we saw with like Fire Emblem Warriors and stuff.
So when you say sequel, does that mean it is like it takes place after the story of
Persona?
Persona?
Apparently, yeah. So Koei Tecmo director Kazutoshi Sekiguchi told Dengeki PlayStation, quote, "Our company has many Persona fans. At first, they proposed a Persona Musou or like Warriors type game. However, in the story filling stage, we decided to make it into something that delves deeper into the characters of Persona 5. After some twists and turns, it ended up becoming an action RPG that told a continuation of Persona 5.
Now that is interesting, right?
Right. Because I'm much more interested in a action RPG than I am in a Musou game.
Me too, but that also makes me feel like I need to have played Persona 5.
Right.
So it actually makes it almost less likely. Not that I wasn't going to play Persona 5 Scramble anyway.
Right.
I don't think. Mark, what do you look? I made a prediction at the beginning of this year that we will not hear anything about Persona 5 coming to Switch until after Persona 5 Royal comes out on PlayStation 4, and then we also won't hear anything about it after. That we
right. We'll just never hear about it.
We'll just never hear about it.
I think that holds true.
All right, great.
Yep. One other note, it was also said that the goal of Persona 5 Scramble was to make a fun story, since Persona 5 is pretty dark.
Oh, interesting. So they're like going for a little bit of like a tonal shift.
Yeah, they just want to like, oh, here's like these characters like going on an adventure together, having fun.
See, that's funny. I thought this was going that the goal was to make a fun story versus normally it's about just to like hack and slash stuff, right? But no, this is a fun story because the previous story was a bummer.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Exactly. And then finally, our piece of Wii news for the week. The era of the Wii is truly at an end, ?
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo has announced that it will stop accepting repair requests for the Wii in Japan after March 31st, 2020. So April 1st, you will no longer be able to send your Wii into Nintendo of Japan for them to repair it. Apparently, spare parts are expensive and hard to come by. So they're like,
so they just deemed it not worth it.
Sayonara, Wii repairs.
So that's the end of the Wii hardware. We saw the last Wii game released last year, Just Dance 2020. You can't buy anything on there anymore. It's the end of the Wii.
You would think.
Yeah.
But I look forward to like in 3 months talking about the Wii again in some capacity.
What
Really, there could have been 2 news stories about the Wii this week, but I skipped over one of them because it was like patent news. Like Nintendo had been sued by some patent company for, I guess we're talking about it anyways.
Right, here
Nintendo
it is.
had been sued.
Here's a half-remembered news story.
By some patent company for the technology that was in the Wiimote.
Yeah.
And they had been, like, there had been a multi-million-dollar penalty. Nintendo lost the first trial, and there was like a multi-million-dollar penalty given against them. But then that was overturned on appeal.
So look, the Wii may be dead, but the battle over it rages on.
Right.
All right, let's get out of the news. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. We are also on Facebook, and the page is just called Hey, Nintendo Cartridge Society. Except without the hey. That was just me like getting your attention or getting my own attention. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying you can check out the fun version of this show on NCS Scramble. And thanks for listening.
Hey, Rachel, Oscar.
Yeah, Claire?
Do you love Disney movies?
Uh-huh.
Have you seen them all?
Not all of them.
What do you guys think if we watch them all in chronological order and then talk about them?
Ooh. Oh, and what if we can talk about it with some of our favorite friends?
I love that.
Yeah, what if we do it inside the Disney Vault?
You know, that's the name of our podcast, Inside the Disney Vault on Campfire Media.
Yeah, check us out on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to yours.
That's Inside the Disney Vault.
Let's go!
Woo!
Campfire.